McDonald's, Burger King, Wendy's, In-N-Out, every fast food restaurant that you know and love owes its success to this little burger. And unfortunately, it's not good. But stick with me here. Formed in Wichita, Kansas in 1921, White Castle was America's first fast food restaurant, pioneering the process of standardization across all locations and speed of service. This is arguably the most important burger that's ever existed. And while commendable, my problem is it's engineered for speed, not flavor. We're gonna take what White Castle has done well and blend it with some of what this burger's predecessors have come to adopt that kind of made this thing irrelevant. This is the White Castle burger.
Damn, that hit the spot. That was the best meal of my life.
Now, before I nerd out on a little bit more history, we've got to make these iconic patties. Now, I've done these a few ways. I've sandwiched them in between two sheet trays. I actually just kind of came up with a potentially smarter way to do it with a big Ziploc bag. Now, I've got just some 80-20 ground chuck here, freshly ground from my supermarket, not some pre-packaged junk. Now, we need to form this meat into squares, and we sort of have to make some decisions. Now, upon further inspection, I mean, this is what I'm talking about. That's the problem right there. But when it comes to the meat patty, you can't even pull this thing off. Do we want this patty so thin, it's practically indiscernible, disappears between the buns? Or do we want to add a little bit of heft to it? The amount you put in here will kind of dictate how big each patty is. So with 2 pounds here, I'm gonna put about 1 pound in and see where we're at. To me, you can make them as thin or as thick as you want. My method involves steaming, but just not quite the way White Castle does. So now I'm gonna start pressing it out. Sort of push it out to the sides as far as you can, and then we can get a little rolling pin, and we can use that to sort of even it all out. We're just gonna go working around to the corners, trying to get it as even as possible. Now basically what I'm gonna be looking for is cutting them into 2.5 inch by 2.5 inch squares. So we should get 3 going up, maybe about 4 going down. Another way you could do it, take some sheet trays, put some parchment in there. I think maybe we'll make some thicker ones in here. Place parchment on top, and then we can compress it. We can knock it out, remove the parchment, then we can just roll it out a little further, get it to the thickness that we want. So then we're gonna take our ruler and we're just going to measure 2.5 inches, and then we're just going to cut. Take the trim from that other side and just kind of work it in to get 4 rows. So now we still have that parchment. I'm gonna transfer it over here. Then we're going to take the Ziploc and open it up, rip the corners. We're just gonna do the same thing with this, 2.5 inches. You can just take the scraps and form a new patty. Got 25 patties formed. Now, we've got to make the little holes. 1 in the center, and then 4 around. Now, why would you do such a thing? As frozen as these are going to be, those holes allow steam to pass through, cooking the patty evenly. Now, back in 1921, ground beef had a bad rap. Thanks to the 1906 publication of Upton Sinclair's The Jungle, the American public generally believed hamburgers were made from scraps from diseased animals. And to me, in an ironic twist of fate, the product we have here today looks like what Sinclair wrote about. I also like these holes for one other reason, is when the cheese melts, it kind of goos through those holes, fills the burger up with cheese, which I like. These now are gonna go in the freezer. We're gonna let them chill in there for at least 30 minutes or so and then break them apart. Now, despite that negative PR around ground beef at the time, White Castle single-handedly put ground beef back on the map. But the process in which they got there is a little weird and wacky. These square frozen pucks of ground beef with those 5 slotted holes in it placed over a bed, not of fresh onions, rehydrated dried onion flakes, which, while weird, is smart. A pantry item, doesn't have to be stored, doesn't need refrigeration, and could be standard across locations. Those onions are rehydrated in water. The onions and that water are then placed on the grill to cook and to create steam, and then those pucks of meat are then tightly packed next to each other on top of that bed of onions. The holes in the patties allow steam to pass through, cooking the burgers evenly and through. And it might make some people uncomfortable. They place the buns on top of the raw beef. The buns acts as a shield to keep the steam in and help cook that burger patty all the way through. And what you get is just a wet bottom bun. The patties never touch the grill. The burgers are then scooped up, placed in their buns, and packed off to the customer. Steamed burgers, which in my experience, most people have no appetite for. But these steamed onions do add a flavor component, and so we're going to be blending them with fresh onions. The combination of the fresh and the dehydrated should give us a combination of classic onion flavor with that unique White Castle onion flavor. So we've got our fresh onions, and we've got our dehydrated onions that are now starting to rehydrate. It's like how some garlic breads have both fresh garlic in there and some garlic powder, as they have complementary and distinct flavors, and we're trying to achieve the same thing here, so it's not redundant. Now for this, we can use a combination of whatever cheese you want. You can use American, which is classic. You can use cheddar. All we have to do though really is to portion the cheeses, because these slices, they're too big for the patties that we made. So we're just going to cut slices of cheese the same size as our patties. You can of course recycle that cheese. Do a combination of both. Great stuff for a little small mac and cheese. You gotta keep that. Now before they actually freeze up, we can just sort of detach the squares. And these are still sort of fresh. By now, you can just cook these from fresh, but I actually want to store these in my freezer, and I want to have access to them often. So you can make a few now, pack a few up later. Now you can either cook them or continue to freeze them solid. Now while we let those freeze, like any good fast food restaurant, we're cooking these burgers on one of my best friends in the kitchen, the carbon steel griddle from our sponsor today, Made In. Something that sits on my stove, I flaunt it. It's a core tool in my kitchen. Now Made In's griddle is gonna give you that restaurant quality cooking style right in your home. Heat safe up to 1200 degrees, so it can be used outdoors on a grill, over an open flame, or indoors on a gas, electric, or induction cooktop. And for a recipe like this, the carbon steel griddle is essential to truly transform your kitchen or even your grill into a true fast food restaurant in your home. The griddle is pre-seasoned and naturally non-stick, ready to start using right out of the box without any chemicals or coatings. And to go along with the griddle, today we're gonna be using Made In's press to allow our burgers to make great contact and get a nice sear on the first side, part of our reinvention of these burgers. So if you want to get yourself one of my favorite cooking tools and save on all of Made In's amazing kitchen gear, head on down in the link in my description. And all we got to do now is get this preheated till our burgers are ready to cook. Now they're thin, right? So after a few hours, they should be more or less hardened. And so we can take our burgers. Now you got a bag of burgers. Sits in your freezer. Because of those holes, anytime you throw it on the griddle, it should cook well and fast. And now you can feel good about frozen burgers rather than buying whatever it is that they sell in the freezer at the grocery store. Now we got our onions. As you can see, they've taken up all of that liquid. Very distinct smell from the fresh onions. And those two things are gonna make a nice, powerful onion flavor in these burgers, which is iconic in White Castle. And then we've got, for our buns, what I found the best shape, the best size, the best texture for this, even though it's not gonna be the same as White Castle, are these buns. These are sweet dinner potato rolls. They're just like mini potato roll sliders. Now, as is often the case, while this was the first and maybe most important burger to exist, the first is not always the best. And this is technically an onion burger that predates the Oklahoma smashed onion burger by about a decade. Similar concepts, vastly different results. And while the smashed onion burger solved a lot of White Castle's shortcomings, the holes, the dehydrated onion water for that unique flavor, stealing from a bit of White Castle's predecessors' tricks, implementing it while maintaining the soul of this historic burger. So first I'm gonna go down and hit that hot griddle with a little bit of oil. I'm gonna use a spatula to sort of spread it out across the surface of the grill and then pour my raw onions straight onto it. Season with a little bit of salt. Now we're just going to sort of work these onions on the grill. I sort of cradle them towards the center, build a little long mound, allow them to kind of get going and steaming, and then to sort of shift them around to flip them. I'm gonna pull the onions that are at the far end of the pack towards me and then use my scraper to flip the onions closest to me kind of over the mound of onions to rotate the position to brown them evenly. And we're just gonna repeat this process until we start to see those onions getting translucent and beginning to sort of change colors and brown. Right now I have the front and the back burner on, so the entire surface of the griddle is hot. Now I can see those onions starting to become a little caramel, so now I'm going to use a slotted spoon to pull out the rehydrated onions, and I'm gonna add that to the mix and start incorporating them into the raw onions. Once everything starts getting even more brown, I'm gonna begin to push the onions towards the back burner and lower the heat down in the back to just allow those onions to sort of slowly caramelize in the back while we start working on our patties. We're gonna pull some of the frozen patties out, and unlike White Castle, which would just throw these on top of the onions, we're gonna develop a crust on the first side. We're gonna season that first side, we're gonna place that seasoned side down on the grill in a pattern of about 6 patties at a time. Season that other side, and we're going to place a press down on them so we get nice contact and try and get a really good sear on this beef. Allow that first side to develop color, and we're almost ready to flip, and now is when I'm gonna add some of that onion water that's gonna act as the steam. You can see the burgers browning around the edges, so now I'm gonna pick them up and then flip them onto the onions. This is where the White Castle part comes in. We're gonna finish steaming that other side on that bed of onions and in that onion water. As soon as they're on the onions, we're gonna place a piece of cheese on each one. We're gonna do cheddar on a few and then some American cheese on a couple others. Then we put the bottom bun on top and the top bun on top of the bottom bun, which is gonna trap the steam, melt the cheese, and warm the buns up. With this method, we get the best of both worlds. We get a little bit of that caramelization on the meat, that transformation of flavor rather than just steamed meat. But then we also get that onion steam, the onion flavor, the steamed bun. Now, once that cheese is melted and that burger has cooked through, we're gonna pick up the patty, take that top bun off, and close up the sandwich and use our thumbs to sort of pinch that burger out, flip it right side up, and we're just gonna place it on some wire rack and go ahead and cook up another batch of burgers. 6 burgers cooked in a few minutes. Now, if you want, you can add a pickle to some. That's your thing. Some people don't like a pick. Hit them with some ketchup. Pack some up. Now let's compare. Which one do you want to eat? I mean, what are we doing? As you can see, it's cooked all the way through, which obviously you're looking for, but it's moist. And that's that onion steam. I mean, what's the real fun about sliders and the allure of a White Castle is walking out of there with 30 burgers in a bag. 12 is gonna be plenty for me. Whether you find White Castle gross or not, respecting the past, honoring what came before, you know, like sort of what this channel is all about. And now I can eat these and, you know, have the added benefit of not having my stomach wanna kill me. Very good for a crowd. With your griddle on a grill outside in the summer, you can be a short order cook, just banging out sliders all day. You just can't stop. Recipe's gonna be down in the description. Give this sucker a try. That's all that I have today. I'll see you next time. Until then, take care of yourself and go feed yourself.